Captain Jake Morrison woke up in his quarters aboard the USS Liberty, feeling satisfied with how the cultural demonstration had gone the previous evening. He had no idea that across the Zephyrian Collective, emergency sessions were being held as 47 different species tried to understand what humanity's presence meant for galactic civilization. Lisa Grant was reviewing her notes from the feast when Alex Turner contacted her from the communication station. "Doctor, I'm picking up a lot of transmissions between the alien ships. Much more than normal diplomatic traffic." "What kind of transmissions?" Lisa asked as she made her way to the bridge. "Encrypted messages, emergency frequency communications, and what sounds like military coordination protocols." Alex replied with concern in his voice. "I think our dinner demonstration caused more of a reaction than we expected." Jake arrived on the bridge to find his senior staff looking worried. "What's the situation?" "Captain, I think we might have a problem," Alex said. "The aliens have been sending urgent messages all night. I've been able to decode some of them, and the content is concerning." "Show me what you found." Alex displayed the translated messages on the main screen. Words like apex predator species, threat assessment, and defensive protocols appeared frequently throughout the communications. One message from the Crystal Singer homeworld read, "Immediate species evaluation required for organisms demonstrating active predatory consumption patterns." "They're scared of us," Dr. Grant realized. The cooking demonstration made them think we're dangerous predators. Before Jake could respond, Ambassador Veltar's image appeared on the communication screen. The crystalline being's body was flickering with rapid color changes that suggested extreme agitation. "Captain Morrison, I need to speak with you immediately. There have been significant developments overnight regarding your species' status within the collective." "Of course, Ambassador."
What can we clarify for you?
"Representatives from all 47 species have been in emergency session since your food demonstration concluded. Your species' omnivorous nature and predatory consumption methods have raised serious questions about galactic security." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Ambassador, humans are peaceful beings. We don't pose a threat to anyone." "That may be true, Captain, but you must understand our perspective. In the entire history of the collective, we have never encountered an intelligent species that maintained active predatory behaviors. Your casual consumption of multiple organism types suggests capabilities that concern many of our member species." Dr. Grant stepped forward. "May I ask what specific concerns have been raised?" Veltar's form dimmed slightly. "The Harmony Collective has pointed out that your species developed space travel while retaining omnivorous consumption. This suggests you solved energy and resource problems through expansion rather than efficiency. The implications for territorial behavior are troubling. The Crystal Singers have analyzed the tool usage you demonstrated. Your cutting implements are designed for precision destruction of organic matter. Combined with your obvious familiarity with controlled combustion, this suggests technological applications for predatory behavior." Alex looked at his translation data. "Ambassador, are you saying the other species see us as a military threat because we know how to cook food?" "More than that," Veltar replied. "The Peaceful Unity has calculated that a species capable of consuming any available organic matter would have significant advantages in resource-limited environments. Your adaptability makes you potentially unstoppable in expansion scenarios." Jake tried to remain calm despite the growing crisis. "What does this mean for our relationship with the collective?" "There have been calls for immediate defensive measures. Some species want to establish quarantine protocols around your solar system. Others believe we should attempt to guide your species toward more civilized consumption methods. However," Veltar continued, "there has also been recognition that your predatory heritage might explain your species' remarkable technological advancement. The quantum dancers have noted that predatory problem-solving capabilities could be valuable for the collective's expansion into hostile regions of space." Dr. Grant saw an opportunity. "Ambassador, what if we could demonstrate that humans can be valuable allies rather than threats? Our diverse capabilities might help the collective in ways that purely peaceful species cannot." Over the next several hours, Jake found himself in the strangest diplomatic negotiations in human history. Representatives from dozens of alien species wanted to understand human military capabilities, territorial instincts, and expansion plans. They seemed to assume that because humans could eat meat, they were naturally aggressive and conquest-oriented. "Your species has something called martial arts, observed a representative of the cautious collective. These are formalized systems for physical combat between individuals. Martial arts are primarily for physical fitness and mental discipline, Jake explained. Most practitioners never use them in actual combat. But the knowledge exists within your population, the alien replied. Millions of your species train in combat techniques as recreational activity, the luminary representative added. Your entertainment media frequently depicts warfare, competition, and conflict between groups. This suggests your species finds predatory behavior psychologically satisfying. Jake realized that everything humans considered normal was being interpreted through the lens of predatory behavior. Yes, humans enjoy competitive activities and fictional conflict scenarios. But these are outlets for natural impulses, not preparation for actual aggression. Exactly, said Veltar with what seemed like understanding. Your species has developed cultural methods for managing predatory instincts without requiring actual predation. This is remarkably sophisticated. As the day progressed, the alien perspective on humanity began to shift from fear toward a mixture of respect and wariness. They started to see humans not as mindless predators, but as apex predators who had developed intelligence, technology, and culture while maintaining their fundamental advantages. The flower people have raised an interesting point, Veltar announced during one session. Your species' predatory heritage means you are naturally equipped to deal with hostile environments and aggressive life forms. This could be invaluable for exploring dangerous regions of space that peaceful species cannot safely investigate. Dr. Grant nodded enthusiastically. Humans have always been explorers. Our adaptability and problem-solving skills come from millions of years of surviving in challenging environments. The final resolution came after 3 days of intense discussions. The Zephyrian Collective voted to establish humanity as an associate apex species within their community. This new classification recognized that humans were fundamentally different from other collective members but potentially valuable. As allies and partners, you will be granted full diplomatic status and trade relationships, Veltar explained. However, there will be specific protocols for human interactions with prey species and restrictions on human presence in certain sensitive systems. We also want to establish cultural exchange programs, added a Crystal Singer representative. Your species' unique perspective could help us understand aspects of the universe that we have never considered. Jake felt relieved that the crisis had been resolved peacefully. The human government will be very interested in these arrangements. I think this could be the beginning of a beneficial relationship for everyone. As the USS Liberty prepared to return to Earth with news of first contact, Jake reflected on how a simple dinner had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. Humans had accidentally established themselves as the most feared and respected species in known space simply by demonstrating their ability to cook a meal. The final irony came when Veltar made a special request. Captain, before you depart, would it be possible for your food specialist to teach some of our researchers his preparation techniques? Several species are curious about whether thermal processing might improve their own energy absorption methods. Bobby Chen became the first human to teach alien cooking classes, though he never quite understood why his students seemed so nervous around the kitchen knives. Within a year, human-style thermal preparation became popular among several collective species, though none of them ever tried to replicate the meat dishes. Humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors or diplomats, but as the galaxy's most successful predators who had learned to channel their nature into exploration, innovation, and surprisingly good cooking. The universe would never be quite the same again. Bobby Chen placed the first steak onto the hot cooking surface, and the sizzling sound filled the research facility like thunder. The smell of cooking meat hit the air, and several more alien species immediately left the observation area. Those who remained seemed frozen in place, unable to look away from what they were witnessing. The thermal application is causing chemical changes in the flesh proteins, Dr. Lisa Grant explained to the stunned aliens. This process breaks down tough fibers and creates new flavor compounds that humans find appealing. Ambassador Veltar's crystalline body had dimmed to barely visible light. Your species consumes the flesh of other creatures, he said in a voice that seemed to come from very far away. Even if artificially created, you maintain the consumption patterns of predatory organisms. Captain Jake Morrison noticed that news of the humans' cooking demonstration was spreading throughout the facility. More alien representatives kept arriving, but instead of the curious excitement they had shown before, there was now an atmosphere of shock and growing fear. "I want to emphasize that modern humans are peaceful," Jake said to the gathering crowd. "We don't hunt other intelligent beings. Most of our food comes from plants we grow ourselves. But you retain the biological capacity to consume flesh," observed a representative of the Harmony Collective. "Your digestive systems are designed for omnivorous consumption. This means your ancestors were active predators." Bobby continued cooking, seemingly unaware of the tension building around him. He flipped the steaks with practiced skill, adjusted the heat under the vegetables, and began seasoning everything with various spices. To him, this was just another dinner preparation. But to the watching aliens, it looked like a carefully choreographed display of predatory behavior. Nina Lopez noticed how the aliens reacted when Bobby used his knife to check the doneness of the meat. The sharp blade cutting into the cooked flesh caused several crystal singers to emit distressed harmonic frequencies. "On Earth, cooking is considered an art form," she said, trying to ease the tension. "Bobby has trained for years to master these techniques." "You train in flesh preparation," stated a luminary, its glowing form pulsing with what seemed like disbelief. "Your species has formalized the consumption of other organisms into an educational system." Dr. Kevin Park tried to redirect attention to the plant-based parts of the meal. "Most of what we're preparing comes from vegetables and grains," he said while kneading bread dough. "Humans eat many different foods, not just meat, but the aliens were no longer interested in the vegetables. They had focused entirely on the implications of humanity's omnivorous nature." Whispered conversations in dozens of languages filled the air as species representatives tried to process this revelation. "In your ship's database, we found records of something called restaurants," Veltar said slowly. "These are facilities dedicated entirely to food preparation and consumption." "That's right," Jake confirmed. "Humans have developed entire industries around creating and serving food. It's a major part of our culture and economy. And these restaurants serve flesh from multiple species of creatures," Veltar continued. "Bovines, porcines, avians, aquatic life forms, and hundreds of other organisms." Dr. Grant realized they needed to help the aliens understand human dietary evolution. "Our ancestors lived on a world with limited energy sources. Omnivorous eating allowed early humans to survive in many different environments. It's why we were able to spread across our entire planet." The smell of cooking food was now filling the entire facility. Bobby had moved on to grilling vegetables alongside the meat, and the combined aromas created a complex scent that triggered primal responses in many of the herbivorous species. Several representatives of prey species found themselves backing toward exits without understanding why. "Your olfactory emissions are activating fear responses in multiple species," observed a representative of the Cautious Collective, a species that had evolved from small prey animals. "The scent signals the presence of active predators." "We don't think of ourselves as predators," Nina said while she shaped bread loaves. "Modern humans are more like gardeners. We grow most of our food in controlled environments." "But you maintain the biological and cultural systems for consumption of other organisms," Veltar replied. "This suggests that your peaceful nature is a choice rather than an evolutionary certainty." Bobby began plating the finished meal on dishes brought from the ship. The cooked steaks looked perfectly prepared. The vegetables were colorful and aromatic, and the fresh bread was golden brown. To human eyes, it was an appetizing and beautifully presented dinner. To the alien observers, it looked like evidence of humanity's predatory heritage. "The presentation suggests ritualistic behavior," noted a crystal singer. "You have formalized the consumption process into ceremony." "Humans do consider meals to be social events," Jake admitted. "We often gather with family and friends to share food and conversation." "Group feeding behavior," whispered a quantum dancer, its partially visible form flickering with distress. "Coordinated consumption by pack hunters." The final shock came when the humans sat down to actually eat the meal they had prepared. Bobby cut his steak with a sharp knife, the metal blade slicing through the cooked meat with practiced efficiency. The sound of cutting echoed through the silent facility. Dr. Grant took a bite of vegetables and made a small sound of appreciation. "Bobby, this is excellent. The seasoning is perfect." Nina broke off a piece of bread and spread it with what the aliens now realized was processed fat from animal milk. The casual way she consumed it suggested this was completely normal behavior for humans, but it was when Jake cut a piece of steak and began chewing that the full impact hit the alien observers. His canine teeth designed for tearing flesh were clearly visible as he ate. The rhythmic chewing motion and the satisfied expression on his face showed that humans not only could consume other organisms, but actually enjoyed doing so. They derive pleasure from flesh consumption, Veltar said in a voice barely above a whisper. The neurological responses indicate satisfaction and contentment during predatory feeding. The human crew members continued eating and talking casually among themselves, completely unaware that they had just shattered every assumption the galactic community had about intelligent species. They complimented Bobby's cooking, discussed the flavors of different ingredients, and planned what they might prepare for tomorrow's meals. The ease with which they consume multiple organism types, observed a representative of the Plant Consciousness Alliance. No hesitation, no apparent awareness of the destruction involved. This is instinctive behavior from apex predators. Around the facility, alien representatives began quietly leaving. Emergency communications were being sent to homeworlds across the galaxy. The peaceful species that had welcomed humanity into their community were beginning to understand that they had just invited the most successful predators in the known universe to dinner. The humans finished their meal with satisfied expressions and began cleaning up their cooking area. They thanked Bobby for the excellent food and complimented him on his presentation skills. To them, it had been a successful cultural demonstration that they hoped would help their new alien friends understand human society better. They had no idea that within hours, emergency defense protocols would be activated across 47 different star systems. Dr. Lisa Grant looked at the bowls of gray nutrient paste and synthetic protein wafers that the Zephyrians had prepared for the human delegation. The alien food looked like something that might be served in a hospital to patients who could not eat solid food. She exchanged worried glances with Captain Jake Morrison. "This is very thoughtful," Jake said carefully to Ambassador Veltar. "But I wonder if we might demonstrate how humans typically prepare and consume food. It might be educational for your people to see our customs." Veltar's crystalline body flickered with interest. "You have customs around energy consumption? How fascinating. We assumed all species simply absorbed what they needed for survival." "Human food preparation is quite complex," Dr. Grant explained. "We use heat and various techniques to transform raw ingredients into meals. It's both practical and cultural for us." "Raw ingredients?" Veltar seemed confused. "You mean you process energy sources before consumption?" Alex Turner stepped forward with his translation device. "Perhaps we could show you rather than just explain. Would it be possible to use a food preparation area?" "Of course," Veltar replied. "We have research facilities where we study different forms of matter. You could use one of those spaces." The ambassador paused for a moment. "This is most unusual. No species we have encountered has ever requested to demonstrate consumption methods." Word of the humans' strange request spread quickly through the gathered aliens. Representatives from dozens of species began arriving at the research facility to observe this unprecedented event. The luminary floated in glowing spheres while the crystal singers created musical tones of curiosity. Even the mysterious quantum dancers materialized more fully into normal space to watch. Jake contacted the USS Liberty to request supplies from their food storage. "Bobby, I need you to bring some of our best ingredients down to the planet. We're going to cook dinner for several thousand aliens." Bobby Chen was the ship's food service coordinator and had been cooking for the crew throughout their 6-month journey. "What kind of meal are we talking about, Captain? Something simple, or should I bring the good stuff?" "Bring everything. We want to show them what human cuisine can be. This might be the most important meal in human history." Bobby arrived at the research facility with Supply Officer Nina Lopez and botanist Dr. Kevin Park. They carried containers filled with fresh vegetables from the ship's hydroponic gardens, several cuts of synthetic meat that tasted exactly like beef, fresh herbs and spices, flour for bread, and various fruits. The assembled aliens watched with growing fascination as the humans unpacked their supplies. When Bobby removed a package of raw steaks, several of the herbivorous species moved backward instinctively. "What is that red substance?" asked a representative of the flower people, a species that resembled giant mobile plants. Dr. Grant realized they needed to be very careful about how they explained this. This is protein that we will cook using heat. It's similar to how you process minerals, but we use fire instead of light. Bobby set up a portable cooking unit that used clean energy to generate heat. The aliens had never seen anything like it before. To them, the controlled fire looked like a weapon rather than a cooking tool. You control combustion for food preparation? Veltar asked with what seemed like amazement. How do you prevent the destruction of your nutritional matter? Heat actually improves the nutrition and flavor, Nina explained as she began washing vegetables. Cooking breaks down compounds and makes nutrients easier for our bodies to absorb. Dr. Kevin Park started grinding spices using a small hand mill. The sound of crushing plant matter caused several aliens to move even further away. To species that communicated with plants telepathically, the grinding noise sounded like screams. Are you destroying those living organisms? Asked a crystal singer, its voice creating harmonic tones of distress. These are just seeds and dried leaves, Kevin explained. We use them to add flavor to our food. On Earth, these plants grow specifically to be harvested for cooking. Bobby began heating oil in a large pan. The sizzling sound echoed through the research facility and caused more aliens to back away. The smell of heating oil was completely foreign to beings that absorbed energy from light and electromagnetic radiation. That combustion produces toxic gases, observed a luminary. How do you avoid poisoning yourselves? The gases aren't toxic to us, Bobby replied as he prepared to cook the vegetables. Our species evolved around natural fires. We've been cooking with flame for hundreds of thousands of years. The aliens began whispering among themselves in their various languages. The universal translators picked up words like primitive, dangerous, and impossible. Some species seemed frightened while others appeared fascinated by the humans' strange behavior. When Bobby placed the first vegetables into the hot oil, the loud sizzling and popping sounds caused several aliens to flee the observation area entirely. Those who remained watched in stunned silence as the humans worked with what appeared to be controlled destruction. Your species uses thermal destruction as a preparation method, Veltar stated with what sounded like disbelief. How did you develop space travel while maintaining such primitive consumption habits? Jake decided honesty was the best approach. Ambassador, what you're seeing isn't primitive to us. This is advanced food preparation that requires skill, knowledge, and practice. Our greatest chefs are considered artists. Dr. Grant added, cooking is one of the things that helped humans develop larger brains and complex societies. The process of transforming raw ingredients into nutritious meals freed up energy that our ancestors used for thinking and creating. Bobby continued cooking while explaining each step. I'm browning these vegetables to develop flavor through the Maillard reaction. That's a chemical process that creates new taste compounds. He stirred the vegetables expertly. Temperature control is crucial. Too hot and you burn the food. Too cool and it doesn't cook properly. The aliens watched in fascination as Bobby demonstrated knife skills, cutting vegetables into precise shapes. To beings that had never seen food preparation, his movements looked like a complex martial art. The sharp metal, blades glinting in the light, made several species nervous. Your tools are designed for cutting and destruction, observed a representative of the peaceful unity, a collective consciousness species, yet you use them with artistic precision. Tools are neutral, Nina explained while she prepared bread dough. The same knife that cuts vegetables can also be used to carve wood into beautiful sculptures. Humans learn to use tools for creation as well as survival. When Bobby unwrapped the raw steaks, the reaction from the alien observers was immediate and dramatic. The sight of red meat caused several herbivorous species to emit distress calls. Others seemed to recognize what they were looking at and moved to the very back of the observation area. Is that flesh from another organism? Veltar asked, his crystal body dimming noticeably. This is synthetic meat created in our laboratories, Jake explained quickly. No animals were harmed to produce it. But yes, it's designed to replicate the taste and texture of animal protein that humans traditionally consume. The revelation that humans were omnivores sent shockwaves through the assembled aliens. Species that had assumed humans were peaceful herbivores like most intelligent life began to reassess everything they thought they knew about Earth's civilization. The USS Liberty docked with the alien station, and Jake Morrison felt his hands shake slightly as he prepared to meet the first aliens in human history. Dr. Lisa Grant checked her equipment one more time while Alex Turner made sure his translation device was working properly. Remember, everyone, we represent all of humanity today, Jake said to his team. Let's make a good first impression. The airlock opened with a soft hiss and the humans stepped into a corridor made of the same crystal material they had seen from outside. Light seemed to flow through the walls like water, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The air smelled clean and felt warm against their skin. "Welcome, humans," came a voice that seemed to speak directly into their minds. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective." The being that approached them was taller than any human and moved with flowing grace. Its body appeared to be made of living crystal that changed color as it moved. Where a human might have a face, this creature had geometric patterns that shifted and sparkled. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. "Thank you for welcoming us," Jake replied. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Grant, our science officer, and Alex Turner, our communications specialist." Veltar's crystal body flickered with what might have been pleasure. "Your species is fascinating to us. We have studied your transmissions and learned much about your world. You are the first beings we have met who use such complex technology, while still being so young as a civilization." Dr. Grant stepped forward with her scanning equipment. "May I ask about your physiology? Your body structure is unlike anything we've theorized about." "Of course. We are beings of light and mineral. Our ancestors evolved on a world with two suns where organic life could not survive. We feed on stellar radiation and process rare minerals for growth." Veltar gestured with an arm that looked like flowing crystal. "Come, let me show you our home world. My people are eager to meet you." The humans followed Veltar through corridors filled with other crystalline beings. Each alien was unique in their patterns and colors, but all moved with the same graceful flow. Some stopped to observe the humans with what seemed like curiosity. "How many species are part of your collective?" Alex asked. 47 intelligent species across 12 star systems," Veltar replied. "All peaceful beings who share knowledge and resources. We believe your species would fit well with our community." They entered a large chamber with windows showing space and distant stars. Dr. Grant noticed that the chamber was designed to capture and focus light from multiple directions. "This is beautiful. How does your feeding process work?" "Observe," Veltar said. The humans watched as dozens of crystalline beings arranged themselves in complex geometric patterns throughout the chamber. As they moved into position, light from the stars outside seemed to flow into their bodies, making them glow brighter. The patterns they formed created a harmony of light that pulsed through the entire room. "This is how we consume energy," Veltar explained. "The patterns allow us to absorb stellar radiation efficiently. When we feed together like this, we also share knowledge and experiences telepathically." Jake watched the display with amazement. "It's like a dance and a meal at the same time." "Precisely. This is how all civilized species in our region of space consume energy. Some absorb electromagnetic radiation. Others process quantum fluctuations directly. But all advanced species have moved beyond the primitive consumption of physical matter." Dr. Grant made notes on her tablet. "What do you mean by primitive consumption?" "On worlds where life first develops, early organisms often consume other organisms for energy. But as intelligence grows, species develop more efficient and peaceful methods. No intelligent species we know of still practices physical consumption." The humans exchanged glances but said nothing. Jake decided not to mention human eating habits just yet. Better to understand more about these aliens first. "We would like to invite you to our homeworld of Crystalline Prime," Veltar continued. "There you can meet representatives from all species in our collective. We will hold a great feast in your honor." "That sounds wonderful," Jake replied. "What would such a feast involve?" "All 47 species will gather in our grand amphitheater. We will perform the most beautiful light absorption ceremony ever attempted. Your species will be welcomed into the galactic community with joy and celebration." Dr. Grant looked excited. "How long would such a journey take?" 3 of your days at the speed your ship can travel. We will provide escort vessels to ensure your safety." Veltar's body flickered with brighter colors. "This is a great honor. No new species has been welcomed to Crystalline Prime in over 200 years. Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. This decision would affect all of humanity's future relationships with alien species. "We accept your invitation with gratitude." The next 3 days passed quickly as the USS Liberty traveled toward Crystalline Prime, escorted by beautiful alien ships that looked like flying works of art. The crew used the time to learn more about the Zephyrian collective and prepare for the feast. Dr. Grant spent hours talking with Veltar about the different species they would meet. The Luminari feed on pure electromagnetic energy. The quantum dancers exist partially in other dimensions and absorb energy from quantum fluctuations. The crystal singers are like us, but they process different mineral combinations. They all sound very advanced, Karen Price observed, much more sophisticated than human civilization. When they finally arrived at Crystalline Prime, the humans stared in wonder at the alien homeworld. The entire planet seemed to be made of crystal formations that reached high into the atmosphere. Cities of light stretched across continents, and 3 different colored suns provided constant illumination. "Welcome to our world," Veltar said as their ship landed at a massive spaceport. "Tonight you will experience the greatest feast in collective history." The grand amphitheater was even more impressive than anything they had seen before. Thousands of different alien beings filled terraced seating that spiraled up toward the sky. Each species had their own section with unique lighting designed for their specific energy needs. Jake and his crew were given seats of honor at the center of the amphitheater. Around them, beings of light, living metal, crystalline formations, and creatures that seemed to be made of pure energy waited for the ceremony to begin. "This is incredible," Alex whispered. "Look at all these different forms of life." Veltar approached their seating area. "The feast will begin shortly. We have prepared a special section where you can observe our feeding rituals. Afterward, we have created what we believe is appropriate nourishment for your species based on our research." Dr. Grant felt a small worry growing in her mind. "What kind of nourishment?" "Concentrated nutrient paste with added minerals we detected in your ship's supplies. We also have synthesized protein compounds that should meet your energy requirements." Veltar seemed proud of their preparation. "It may not be as elegant as our light absorption, but we wanted to ensure you could participate in the feast." The humans looked at each other with growing concern. None of them wanted to hurt their new friends' feelings, but the idea of eating nutrient paste at a formal dinner did not sound appealing. Jake decided they would need to handle this situation very carefully to avoid any diplomatic problems. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty and watched the stars through the main window. His crew had been traveling through space for 6 months looking for new worlds and new life. Today felt different, though. The ship's computers had picked up strange signals from a nearby star system. "Captain, we're getting more of those signals," said Alex Turner from his station. Alex worked as the ship's communications officer and had been tracking the mysterious transmissions for 3 days. "They're definitely not natural. Someone is trying to talk to us." Jake walked over to Alex's station and looked at the data on the screen. The patterns were unlike anything they had seen before. They repeated every few minutes and seemed to follow some kind of mathematical sequence. "Can you figure out what they're saying?" "I'm working on it, sir. Dr. Grant thinks they might be using light patterns to communicate. She's been helping me decode them." Alex pointed to another screen showing wave patterns. "If she's right, they're asking us to come closer." Dr. Lisa Grant was the ship's expert on alien life. She had studied biology for 15 years and knew more about how life might develop on other worlds than anyone else on the ship. Jake trusted her judgment completely. "Where is Dr. Grant now?" Jake asked. "She's in the lab with her team. They're trying to understand more about these beings before we make contact." Alex adjusted some controls and the signals became clearer. "Captain, I think they know we're here. The signals are getting stronger and more focused in our direction." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment every space explorer dreamed of. First contact with an alien species. He had trained for this situation, but nothing could really prepare someone for the real thing. "Get Dr. Grant up here right away, and call all senior officers to the bridge." Jake sat down in his captain's chair and took a deep breath. "This is it, everyone. We're about to make history." Dr. Grant arrived on the bridge 5 minutes later carrying a tablet computer and looking excited. Her dark hair was pulled back and her eyes were bright with curiosity. "Captain, I've been studying the signals. These beings are incredibly advanced. Their communication method uses complex mathematical principles that suggest high intelligence." "What else can you tell me about them?" Jake asked. "Well, the signals seem peaceful. There's no aggression in the patterns. They're using prime numbers and geometric sequences, which are universal concepts. It's like they're trying to show us they understand mathematics and science." Dr. Grant sat down at an empty station. "I think they want to meet us." Engineer Ryan Blake joined them on the bridge along with Medical Officer Karen Price. Both had been working on preparing the ship for possible contact with aliens. Ryan had been checking all the ship's systems to make sure everything worked perfectly. Karen had been studying how to protect the crew from unknown diseases or environmental dangers. Status report, Jake said to his team. All systems are running perfectly, Captain, Ryan reported. The ship is ready for whatever comes next. Medical bay is prepared for any situation, Karen added. I've set up isolation areas just in case we need them. Jake nodded and turned back to the main screen. The alien signals were getting stronger by the minute. Alex, can you send a response? Use the same mathematical patterns they're using. Alex worked at his station for several minutes, then looked up. Message sent, sir. I use prime numbers and basic geometric shapes. If they're as smart as Dr. Grant thinks, they should understand we're trying to communicate. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited. Space exploration involved a lot of waiting, but this felt different. Every second seemed to last forever. Then Alex's station started beeping rapidly. Captain, they're responding. The signals are much more complex now. It's like they're excited to hear from us. Alex listened to his equipment through headphones. Sir, I think they're giving us coordinates. They want us to meet them somewhere. Dr. Grant looked at her tablet and compared the new signals to her previous data. The mathematical complexity just increased dramatically. They're not just showing us they're intelligent anymore. They're demonstrating advanced knowledge of physics and astronomy. Jake stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. Through the window, he could see distant stars and wondered which one held their new alien friends. How long would it take us to reach the coordinates they sent? Ryan checked his navigation computer. About 18 hours at maximum speed, Captain. Alex, send them a message confirming we understand and that we're coming to meet them. Dr. Grant, I want you to prepare a first contact protocol. What should we expect? Dr. Grant started typing on her tablet. Based on their communication methods, I believe they're highly peaceful and intelligent. They use light and mathematics, which suggests they might see the universe very differently than we do. We should be prepared for beings that might not even be biological in the way we understand it. The next few hours passed quickly, as the crew prepared for first contact. Jake spent time reviewing all the protocols and procedures they had learned during training. The ship moved through space toward the coordinates at maximum speed. Captain, we're approaching the meeting point, Alex announced. I'm detecting a massive structure ahead. It's definitely artificial. On the main screen appeared something that took everyone's breath away. A crystalline structure the size of a small moon floated in space. It seemed to be made of some kind of transparent material that reflected light in beautiful patterns. Smaller ships moved around it like insects around a flower. Incredible, Dr. Grant whispered. Look at the way it's designed. Everything follows perfect geometric principles. Captain, they're sending us docking instructions, Alex said. They want us to come aboard their station. Jake felt nervous excitement building in his chest. This was really happening. Humanity was about to meet its first alien civilization. Take us in slowly. Full sensors recording everything. Whatever happens next, we want a complete record. The USS Liberty moved toward the alien station while the crew watched in amazement. None of them knew that this simple meeting would change everything about how humans were seen in the galaxy. They were just excited to make new friends among the stars.